This is the lecture 9 in the series on the time milestones in the Vedic history. The time milestones in the Vedic history. This lecture is extracted from the chapter 3 of this author's recent book entitled The Vedic Big Bang, a new cosmology scenario revealed in the ancient Veda mantras of India by Shiv R Pal. The book is published in 2 volumes under the Kindle Books of Amazon. This book primarily is on Vedic cosmology. However, it was deemed essential to establish the historicity of the mantra and sutra references that establish the required Vedic cosmology principles. The author started the chapter 3 of his book formulating the Vedic reference hypothesis, which states the Vedic references on cosmology are ancient and precede 5,000 years. The author has proven this hypothesis from several perspectives. All those perspectives will be taken up in the forthcoming lectures. In this lecture, ancient calendars are invoked that take us beyond 5,000 years. Sources of history references. 1. Adi Shankaracharya at milestone 509 BCE, the case of ancient calendars. 2. Megasthenes' historic account of Yogiraj Krishna. Megasthenes traveled through India between 300 BCE to 400 BCE. 3. The case of Rajtarangini, a book on ancient history. 4. Delhi dynasties from the book of Satyarthprakash. King Yudhishthir in 3140 BCE to Prithviraj Chauhan in 1192 CE. All these sources of history will be taken up in the forthcoming lectures. The item 1, the case of ancient calendars, is dealt with in this lecture 9. This lecture provides a fresh look with a physicist's precision at several time milestones on the timeline of Indian Aryan history spanning over 5,000 years and beyond into the far antiquity. For the Indian leftovers of Indologists and the worshippers of Max Muller, the Indian history ends more or less around 1500 years BCE. On the Jaipur Dialogues, an excellent YouTube channel, I heard, to my utter dismay, that the Indian historian Romila Thapar, labeled as a fake historian, says that on the timeline of Vedic Hindu civilization, King Yudhishthir of Mahabharata was after King Ashoka of the 3rd century BCE. If there is an example of screwed up thinking, this is it. Based on the real data presented in this lecture and discussed in detail in my book, I do not hesitate to say that there is no better example of bankruptcy of thought than expressed by Thapar et al. Records in Yudhishthira era and Kali Yuga era calendars with enriched supplementary information are still preserved and protected not just in one but at least in 4 Adi Shankar Mathas. I am presenting the hardcore written records that place King Yudhishthir's coronation in February of 3140 BCE, when the Yudhishthir era YE calendar was also launched. This is real history. The Vedic history timeline with time milestones is shown below by black arrow pointing right, covering over a period of 5,300 years from the present. In the Vedic Hindu history, this author places 7 major time milestones, arrows pointing down, on the timeline as below. The last 3 time milestones on the right side of the timeline pertaining to the Vikram era VE, Common era CE, and the Shak era or Shalivahan Samvat SE are well known, with their commencements respectively from 57 BCE, 0 CE, and 78 CE. Time milestone for Shankaracharya is at 509 BCE. For Kali Yuga, it's at 3102 BCE. For Yudhishthir, at 3140 BCE. The first red color time milestone under the label Vedas over the dotted timeline remains unknown. About the age of the Vedas, one can only say that they are older than all books in the Vedic literature, written in the distant antiquity of Vedic civilization well beyond 5,000 years. The first 3 time milestones from the right are well known. The rest are deducted by this author from the ancient real records discussed below. There is, however, a big discrepancy of about 1300 years about Adi Shankar's birth that has been wrongfully created by the Western Indologists. Let us first look at this discrepancy. The big discrepancy. Western Indologists and their followers erroneously emphasize, without a proof, that the brilliant Adi Shankaracharya, the proponent of the Advaita Vedanta, was born in 788 CE, that is 788 AD. On the other hand, the great scholar of Sanskrit and the Vedas, a prolific writer himself, Swami Dayanand Saraswati, stated in his remarkable book Satyarth Prakash that Shankaracharya lived about 2200 years ago, as of 1880, which is about 320 BCE. He also wrote that a highly renowned king named Vikramaditya ruled from the city of Avantika, now Ujjain, in Madhya Pradesh, about 300 years after Shankaracharya. The round numbers of Satyarth Prakash 320 BCE or 357 BCE place Adi Shankar into the 4th century BCE, not at 788 CE as emphasized by the Westerners. This King Vikramaditya is the same after whom the Aryan or Hindu calendar, Vikram era VE, started in 57 BCE. Pandit Gurudutt Vidyarthi in the 19th century, in his article, The Terminology of the Vedas and the European Scholars, corroborates the account of Satyarth Prakash. Based on the real records preserved at the Sharda Math, to be discussed briefly here, this author has devoted a good number of pages, about 15 pages, in this author's book cited above, to resolve this historic discrepancy. The fact is that Adi Shankar's birth recorded in lunar calendar is on Vaishakh Shukla Panchami in 2631 Yudhishthira era, which is 509 BCE. Death is on Kartik Purnamasi 2663 YE Yudhishthira era, which is 477 BCE. These numbers tell us that the Indologists, their followers, and most Vedantins have shortened the Indian history by about 1300 years. Why? Because the Indologists said so. This lecture presents well-preserved and well-protected written records spanning over the past 2500 years at the Adi Shankaracharya Mathas, the monasteries, situated in the four corners of India. The great Sanskrit scholar of recent times, translator and interpreter of all 6 Vedic darshans, philosophies, and the author of other numerous Vedic books, Acharya Udaybir Shastri, carried out deep research in the literature at Adi Shankaracharya Mathas. His research in the valuable Sanskrit literature at the Mathas, the monasteries, led him to write 4 chapters, 10 through 13, of his book entitled The Vedanta Darshan Ka Itihas, which means History of the Vedanta Darshan. A detailed discussion on different Indian calendars and their relationship to the Common Era calendar is in chapter 3 of my book cited earlier. Here, 4 Indian calendars and their years of commencements, see Vedic timeline in earlier diagram, are presented in the following table, table 3.2 in my book. A few comments on the table are in order. Table 3.2 from my book. The prevalent calendars used in the Matha records are summarized in the following table. First column gives the calendar name. The second column gives the year of the calendar in 2020. And the third column gives when the calendar was initiated. Yudhishthira calendar was 5160 in 2020, started from the coronation of King Yudhishthira at vernal equinox in 3140 BCE. Kali Yuga calendar or Kali Yuga Samvat, A plus 5122 KE. Natural subcalendar within the Srishti calendar of the Aryans started on February 18th, 3102 BCE. A is the accumulated number of years from the beginning of the Srishti calendar of the Aryans. Next is Vikramaditya or BE calendar was 2077 in 2020 CE, started from the coronation of King Vikramaditya of Ujjain at the vernal equinox in 57 BCE. And the last is Shalivahan Samvat or SE was 1942 SE in 2020 CE, started from the coronation of the King Shalivahan of Ujjain at vernal equinox in 78 CE. It is obvious from the commencements of these four calendars, YE, KE, VE and SE, that the Aryans in India have been tracking and using calendars at least over a period of 5,000 years. They still continue to print and use their astronomic panchangs, which is Hindu calendars and almanacs with the astronomic accuracy, in two separate calendars. Vikram VE, popular in North India, and Shak SE, popular in South India. The lunar tithis, lunar dates for specific celebrations, are highlighted in these calendars. Before the presently used Vikram era and Shak era calendars were adopted, the Indian society used the Yudhishthira era and the Kali Yuga era calendars. Ample proof of this is preserved in successive recordings in the Matha literature and the Matha records. Vanshanumatrikas at the Mathas. A most sincere practice at the Mathas, at least at the 5 Mathas that Adi Shankar established himself during his arduous travels through India, is to record important dates of the events at the Mathas with ample details. The important tradition at a Matha has been to record what is known as the Vanshanumatrika. A Vanshanumatrika is the record of the succession order of the Matha in charge acharyas presiding over the seat known as the Pitha of the Matha. The Vanshanumatrika includes a record of the name of the presiding acharya, the beginning and ending dates of the acharyas presiding, and the presiding number of years. These details are recorded in the lunar calendar prevalent at the time, with Shukla Paksh or Krishna Paksh, bright or dark lunar phases, assigned to the lunar tithi date. Acharya Udavir Shastri, in his book entitled Vedant Darshan Ka Ityas, presents the Vanshanumatrikas of the 5 ancient mathas. The records show that the construction of these mathas was supervised by Adi Shankar himself 2.5 millennia ago. More discussion on the Vanshanumatrikas is in my book. To derive a relationship between different calendar eras, this author has presented here abridged tables of Vanshanumatrikas of just a few mathas. I have tabulated in table 3.7 in my book from Acharya Udavir Shastri's book the construction years of the mathas and the lunar date. In the last column, this author has converted the Yudhishthira era of Matha construction year into the common era year. To finalize the relationship between different calendars, I am presenting the abridged Vanshanumatrikas of 2 mathas only. Sharda Matha at Dwarka in Gujarat state, Kanchi Kamkoti Matha at Kanchipuram in Tamil Nadu state. Although all presiding acharyas in the Matha order are addressed as Shankaracharya, the first acharya who initiated the Vedanta order in India is addressed as Adi Shankaracharya. This abridged Vanshanumatrika is based on the data at Sharda Matha in Dwarka. It lists 77 acharyas, the 77th being Abhinav Sachidanand Tirth, presiding since 1945, past 1991 when Acharya Udayveer Shastri published his book. Second column gives the name of the Acharya. Third column gives the Yudhishthira year up to 10th Acharya Anand Virbhav, and then switches to Vikram calendar. He ruled for 52 years. Fourth column gives the number of years of Acharya's rule. Last column converts the Yudhishthira and Vikram years into common era. The 10th Acharya's rule, beginning in 3040 YE and ending in 9 VE with a 52 years of rule, provides the correlation between the Yudhishthira and Vikram eras. Analysis at the 10th Acharya. Beginning at 3040 Yudhishthira era and ending at 9 Vikram era, with a rule of 52 years yields. The ending year of Acharya's rule is in 3040 plus 52, which is 3092 Yudhishthira years. Because this is 9 years in VE, the 0 years in VE equals 3092 minus 9, which is 3083 YE. Therefore, 3083 YE equals 0 Vikram era, which is the onset of Vikram era calendar. We also know that 0 Vikram era is 57 BCE. Hence, the Yudhishthira era began at 3083 plus 57 equals 3140 BCE. Thus, Yudhishthira era on the timeline is at 3140 BCE. This on the diagram is second milestone from the left. This is the onset of Yudhishthira era calendar. Now, the Vanshanumatrika for Kanchi Kamkoti Matha. Kanchi Kamkoti Matha, 2190 km away from the Sharda Matha at Dwarka, since 2.5 millennia ago, has been maintaining its own Vanshanumatrika independently. The difference in the Kanchi Matha is that it entered the date first in Kali Yuga era KE, and then from the 16th Acharya added the Vikram era date also. The analysis for Kanchi Matha is quite straightforward. Table 3.5 in my book is Kanchi Matha's Vanshanumatrika. In the fourth column is the year in Kali Yuga era up to 15th Acharya. From the 16th Acharya, Ujjwal Shankar III, the Vikram era calendar is also added to it. Last entry is the 68th Acharya, when Udayveer Shastri published his book. In the data of 16th Acharya, 3469 Kali Yuga era KE and 424 Vikram era VE are the same year. Therefore, 3469 KE minus 424 VE equals 3045 KE equals 0 Vikram era. But the common era begins at 57 VE. Therefore, the onset of Kali Yuga era is at 3045 KE plus 57, which is 3102 BCE. This, according to the Vedic astronomy, is the onset of Kali Yuga, 38 years after the onset of Yudhishthir calendar. This time milestone is shown on the timeline in the diagram. The Emperor Yudhishthir in 3140 BCE, Emperor Vikramaditya in 57 BCE, and Jesus Christ at 0 BCE are correlated on the timeline. These were real people of history. Krishna is said to have died at the onset of Kali Yuga 38 years after Mahabharata. Yudhishthir's coronation is a historical event, whereas the onset of the Kali Yuga is an astronomical event. The table 3.6 below shows very important dates in the life of Adi Shankar, all recorded in Yudhishthir Samvat YE, preserved at Sharda Matha in Dwarka, Gujarat. I will have a few comments on it, but I request the viewer to pause the page and read the valuable details, the details that would shake off the doubts about the Vedic history. This table gives important events in Shankar's life: Janm, birth, thread ceremony, monkhood, ceremony, education, the writing of Vedanta Darshan's translation, and the death. And all these are given in the lunar calendar dates, month, day, and year. The last column gives approximate closest common era date. A well-known fact that all historians accept is Adi Shankaracharya's shortened life, that he lived only for 32 years. The data of table 3.6 state that he was born on Vaishakh Shukla Panchami in 2631 Yudhishthir year in 509 BCE and died on Kartik Purnamasi 2663 YE in 477 BCE. Therefore, Adi Shankaracharya lived exactly for 32 years, 6 months and 10 days. This is a remarkable set of recorded ancient data. The data of table 3.6 also suggests that the Yudhishthir calendar YE at Adi Shankar's birth was 2631. This in common era calendar is 509 BCE. This enables a relationship between the YE and CE calendars. Thus, the end of the Mahabharata war or the Yudhishthir's coronation, and when the Yudhishthir calendar was also launched, was in 3140 BCE. On one hand, there are records from Sharda Math at Dwarka revealing that Shankaracharya was born in 509 BCE, exact date of birth given in the table 3.6. And on the other hand, there are some modern historians who hypothesize without any proof his advent in 788, 1300 years later, shortening the Indian history by about 1300 years. There is no provable, solid argument to suggest that the Sharda Matha data are less reliable than the hypothesis put forward by the Indologists and modern historians. Two Vedic darshans, Vedanta by Rishi Vedvyas and Mimamsa by his disciple Rishi Jaimini, are contemporary to Mahabharata, written just before 3140 BCE. All major Vedic books listed at the orange milestone, Brahmanas, Vedic Darshans and Upanishads, Ramayana, Smriti, were all written before Mahabharata, the four Vedas being the oldest in the Vedic literature. Based on the data presented here, the Vedic reference hypothesis, the Vedic references on cosmology are ancient and precede 5000 years, is proven without doubt. The historic milestones are placed accurately as in the diagram below. The title of this author's book is The Vedic Big Bang, a new cosmology scenario revealed in the ancient Veda mantras of India by Shiv R Pal. The book is published under Kindle Amazon, available from Amazon in 2 volumes in paperback, hardcover, and ebook formats. The book links on Amazon for ordering the book are given below for each format. Thank you.